Back when I first played and reviewed Cities Skylines, one of the first items on my wish list for future features was a set of disasters to play with, because while the game had events like localized fires, floods, and sickness, there was a lack of any catastrophic hurdles to overcome. Well, finally these desires have been addressed with Colossal Order and Paradox Interactive's release of the third expansion to Cities Skylines: Natural Disasters. Predictably, the main attraction here is the inclusion of 7 disasters of the natural variety: tornadoes, electrical storms, sinkholes, earthquakes, forest fires, tsunamis, and meteor strikes. Each of these can be triggered manually at any time, or you can set disasters to occur at random and adjust their frequency in the options. And being that this is a natural disasters pack, you won't be seeing any alien invasions or kaiju attacks like SimCity famously provided and somehow made us expect in a city builder. But while that is a bit of a bummer, what is provided is quite the spectacle indeed. Tornadoes are appropriately terrifying, especially combined with thunderstorms. I was quite impressed with the effect here, although I think the havoc they wreak is a bit much when it comes to city centers, with them dropping skyscrapers like dominoes instead of doing major damage to the buildings, as seen in real-life urban tornadoes like the Fort Worth disaster in 2000. Same goes for tsunamis, which play out more like a scene from the movie 2012 rather than anything you'd reasonably expect to witness in reality. Even simple fires will now spread to a ridiculous degree in what seems like no time at all, especially if there are any trees or bushes nearby. Still, it makes for some awesome and horrifying moments in Cities Skylines, and to that effect, these disasters perform their job admirably. On a more personal level, though, the timing of this pack is a bit strange, since I've been seeing firsthand the aftermath of several local forest fires for weeks now, and one of my favorite nearby cities to visit, Gatlinburg, Tennessee, was devastated by a forest fire the very day this expansion launched. So many people tragically lost their homes, businesses, and lives there, so I found myself mentally disconnected when seeing even virtual cities burn down right at the moment I played this. Yet I also found immense and unexpected pleasure in being able to take control and quickly extinguish these virtual fires, enjoying a sort of cathartic relief when I was able to do what proved impossible in recent real-world events. And speaking of difficult scenarios, that's another inclusion to Cities Skylines, which launched alongside this expansion as a free patch. You can now play through several pre-built scenarios, and even create your own using the included scenario editor. I think this is a great addition to the game because, while the traditional open-world city-building mode is still fun, having a set of objectives to complete when you need a break from that is a welcome thing indeed. And players were already making their own pseudo-scenarios with things like the Flood Challenge maps on the Steam Workshop, so having a method of more precisely tuning these events is fantastic. And another free update that launched here is the addition of radio stations, and man, I did not know how much I wanted this until now. Comedic commercials, ditzy DJs, and tip-top tunes litter the airwaves at your demand, adding a welcome extra degree of charm to Skylines.
From birthday noodles to wedding noodles, all the way to those most final of noodles. Yakisoba! It literally means fried noodles.
The Relaxation Station. Songs for when you just want to chill.
Well, that's not the only use for radio, though. Colossal Order didn't just cram in a bunch of disasters without providing prevention measures, of which radio plays a key part. You can place radio towers around your city, which will let your citizens know of imminent disasters and broadcast evacuation orders. Emergency shelters of various sizes have been provided as well, and as long as they're placed somewhere safe with enough food, they'll give thousands of citizens refuge while the apocalypse of the day runs its course. There are also a slew of buildings, objects, and services that can help predict and prevent disasters and rebuild afterward if the need arises. For instance, it is not only you that can prevent forest fires. Fire watchtowers can help with that as well. Radars and sensors of various types can also be placed on land and in the water to detect things like storms, earthquakes, and tsunamis. Helicopter depots can help emergency workers travel to hard-to-reach areas to do things like extinguish flames and address medical and criminal concerns. Disaster response units complete with canine companions can be sent in after each disaster to search the rubble for bodies and survivors, which is a vital step to take before you bulldoze and rebuild. And there are now reservoirs and pumping stations to deal with standing water after post-storm floods and post-tsunami tsunamis, which pair together nicely with the already included quays and canals. And of course, there are a handful of new policies that help throw the people's money at your problems and hope for the best by pure bureaucracy. Take into account the new unique buildings and ploppable monuments, and altogether you've got a nifty expansion pack here. So is Natural Disasters worth the asking price? Well, I would say that's very much up to your playstyle, even more so than the previous packs. It's selling for just shy of $15 US, which is a couple bucks more than Snowfall, which was the last pack we got. For me, this price was well worth paying, since I loved the added challenge provided by the new disasters and services, and going through the process of rebuilding has been surprisingly fun, especially when a disaster gave me an excuse to start a district from scratch that needed a good traffic system overhaul anyway. But when it comes down to it, this pack is also not adding a whole lot that you couldn't already theoretically do with a few minutes of slapdash usage of the bulldozer. This pack certainly makes it more complex and unpredictable to recover from lost buildings and such, but you may or may not be the type of player that even wants to deal with that kind of extra stuff getting in the way of creating your dream city. And you might have noticed, but a lot of this footage isn't running at a very high frame rate at all. The game has some performance issues in really large cities as it is, but when you throw in these disasters and all these effects, it slows to less than 1 frame per second in some cases. It's pretty bad. So I would not say that this pack is necessary to everyone, but dang it if it's not a lot of fun if you're like me and are looking for some new stuff to deal with. And if you've witnessed your own natural disaster or two as of late, it might just be worth checking out to see if you could handle things better yourself, albeit in a virtual setting free of any real consequences. And if you enjoyed this video of mine on Cities Skylines Natural Disasters, perhaps you'd like to see these other videos on previous stuff for the game. And there's always videos coming out every Monday and Friday here on LGR, so pay attention if you want to. And as always, thank you very much for watching.